Several cars were crushed when a pedestrian bridge at Florida International University in Miami collapsed on Thursday. The walkway had not yet opened to the public. Giorgio Viera, EPA, via Shutterstock Good morning. Here's what you need to know. Intruders in the control room. Russians have infiltrated U.S. and European water and power plants, the Trump administration said. The heirs have yet to sabotage or shut down a plant, but they could have done so, officials said. Details were revealed on Thursday as the White House imposed sanctions against Russians and Russian organizations it accused of election meddling and malicious cyberattacks, its most significant action against Moscow since President Trump took office. President Vladimir Putin of Russia at a youth forum in Moscow. He is virtually guaranteed to win re-election on Sunday. Pool photo by Alexei Druzhinin. Mr. Trump also said Moscow was probably behind the poisoning of a former Russian spy in England last week. Russia inquiry moves closer to Trump. The special counsel, Robert Mueller, has subpoenaed records from President Trump's business, including some related to Russia, people briefed on the matter said. It's the first known time he's demanded documents directly related to the president's businesses. The White House purge may not be over. John Kelly, the Chief of Staff, and Lieutenant Gen. H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, are said to be on thin ice. We were dying in there. 7 years to the day since Syria's civil war began, thousands of civilians fled eastern Ghouta, a rebel-held enclave under government assault since last month. There was no food, no medicine, nothing, one woman said. The rebels, who once controlled large parts of Syria, now hold very little territory, and emboldened government troops are advancing. As many as 20,000 people fled eastern Ghouta in the largest single-day exodus since a government offensive began there last month. Louis Bishara, Agence France Presse, Getty Images. In Iraq, an American military helicopter crashed on Thursday near the city of Qaim, killing some of the 7 service members aboard, officials said. It was unclear why the aircraft went down. Bridge falls on a bustling street. A pedestrian bridge in Miami collapsed on Thursday, crushing cars and killing at least 6 people. The walkway at Florida International University was installed on Saturday and had not yet opened to the public. A student described the collapse as a sonic boom from an aircraft which shook the ground. The death toll was likely to rise. An inquiry is expected to examine the bridge's design, construction and method of installation. Up versus out. A proposal in California would allow 8-story buildings near major transit stops, even if local communities objected. The idea is to foster taller, more compact residential areas, to shorten commutes, reduce greenhouse gas emissions and alleviate the state's housing shortage, but opponents say the bill goes too far in overriding residents' views. The daily obituaries in the New York Times have been long dominated by white men. We're adding the stories of remarkable women like Ida B. Wells, who took on racism in the South. Business in Obama-era rule requiring financial professionals to act in their clients' best interests faces an uncertain future after a federal appeals court ruled against it. Nike's brand president is leaving, a move announced the same day the company told employees about reports of workplace misbehavior. Toys R Us went from planning a turnaround to collapsing, the latest failure of financial engineering and private equity. Most U.S. stocks were lower on Thursday. Here's a snapshot of global markets today. Smarter living tips, both new and old, for a more fulfilling life. What to do when a good friend becomes a terrible colleague. How to escape the scourge of butt dialing. Recipes of the day, a selection to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Noteworthy Wildcats and Hurricanes are sent home. The NCAA men's basketball tournament had 2 upsets on its first day, as Buffalo knocked off Arizona and Loyola Chicago stunned Miami with a buzzer-beater shot. The women's tournament starts today. Here's a printable bracket. No news quiz this week. It will return next Friday. Ready for the weekend at the movies? Our critic liked Love, Simon, a teen romance with surprising emotional resonance. The new Tomb Raider, starring Alicia Vikander, on the other hand, is a dreary, inept reboot. New this week on our hardcover fiction bestseller list are adaptations of The Shape of Water and Star Wars: The Last Jedi, shaped by the film's directors. You can find all the lists here. We also recommend 5 new books in the weekend's best TV offerings. Need something new in your viewing rotation? Try one of these shows from Hong Kong, Brazil and Sweden. If you're in New York, the Thomas Cole Show at the Metropolitan Museum of Art features gorgeous 19th-century Hudson River landscapes. The most polluted capital, it's not Beijing or New Delhi, but Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Faced with winter temperatures as low as -40, migrant workers burn raw coal or even garbage to heat their homes, filling the air with smoke. The government plans a ban on coal, but might struggle to enforce it. Selling raw coal in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Many families make a living from the business. Bryant Denton for the New York Times Best of Late-Night TV. Jimmy Kimmel rallied support for the legal defense fund of the biographic film actress known as Stormy Daniels. Now you can give money to a star, just like the President of the United States. Quotation of the day: if you start to take away Astons and Bentleys and huge apartments in Kensington, freezing those assets, people will care a lot more. Cliff Kupchan, the chairman of the consulting firm Eurasia Group, on ways the British government could penalize Russian expatriates closely tied to Moscow following an attack on a former spy. The Times. In other words, here's an image of today's front page, and links to our opinion content and crossword puzzles. Backstory. Patrick's Day, which is Saturday, is all the more enjoyable for a number of intriguing myths and misconceptions, and not just about leprechauns. A reenactment of St. Patrick's arrival in Ireland and Downpatrick, Northern Ireland. Charles McQuillan, Getty Images. Scientists say there were never any snakes in Ireland, for one thing, which contradicts the tale of St. Patrick driving them into the sea. There is also reason to doubt that the snake story is an allegory for St. Patrick's eradication of pagan religions. Christianity might have already arrived. The real Patrick, who became a patron saint of Ireland, wasn't even Irish. He is believed to have been a Roman born in England who was enslaved by Irish marauders. He escaped after 6 years and returned to Ireland to spread Christianity. Corned beef, a mainstay of St. Patrick's Day in the U.S., was introduced to Irish immigrants by Jewish neighbors in New York City. Then there's the color. It was once St. Patrick's blue. Green dates to 18th-century Irish independence movements, and for a celebration of Irish culture, St. Patrick's Day is remarkably global. In Sydney, where the opera house is tinted green each year, the celebrations date to 1810. In Singapore, as the Irish Post writes, the Singapore River transforms into a sea of green as part of its own two-day street festival. Charles McDermott contributed reporting. Your morning briefing is published weekdays and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. Sign up here to get it by email in the Australian, Asian, European or American morning. To receive an evening briefing on U.S. weeknights, sign up here. Check out our range of free newsletters here. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@nytimes.com.